Welcome aboard the System76 transmission log. Our broadcast is about to begin. This is the latest on System76 computers, manufacturing, and Pop OS. Now for your in-orbit crew.
You just got back from LinuxFest Northwest, right? How was that?
I did. It was super fun. That is one of our favorite events of the year because it is so Linux festy. It is how a fest should be. It's just super fun and carefree and really relaxed and informal and just full of people that know a lot of really important stuff about Linux.
It is a festive fest of fantastic people.
We had Carl doing a Cosmic DE presentation again. A year ago, he presented, we just launched the alpha and now we're in alpha 7 and he's showing off, all the accessibility settings and the window changes. And there's just so much progress that has been made this whole year. And it's really fun to see all the excitement and the standing room only presentation room packed with people and just the hype that comes along with it helps fuel the development for the future. So, there's so much excitement. There's definitely no stopping Cosmic development right now.
Absolutely not. It feels so different than when we were using it a year ago. Guys, did or did not have a barbecue?
We had an Un-BBQ. It was not raining. We thought it could possibly rain, and so we ordered sandwiches and sides instead of, renting a grill and setting up everything in the rain and cooking it in the rain. And as much fun as that was, the sandwiches were a little bit easier to manage if it was going to rain. But it ended up being the most beautiful day ever. And it turned into a little picnic in the grass with people eating the sandwiches and chips and everything.
It's good. I feel like picnics make food taste better.
Really?
Yeah, you got the breeze, you're surrounded by nature, you got a nice sandwich that doesn't have sand in it. So, I think it's a good environment for meals. No one brought their own barbecue sauce, though?
I did not supervise any sauce applications.
You did start a new tradition, didn't you?
Yes. System76 and Jupiter Broadcasting folks are going to be listening for birthdays next year. So if anyone has a birthday going to the fest, make sure you say it out loud and let someone on one of those teams know about it, because we will be throwing a birthday party for whoever has a birthday next year.
And if no one has a birthday, the cake will just go to waste.
Someone will have a birthday. We will celebrate.
On the Cosmic news, let's go over a little bit what's new 1 year later. We did release Alpha 7 pretty recently. Now we've got pinned workspaces, some accessibility features, a lot of other features to cover. You can read all that in the Cosmic Alpha 7 blog. I do have a couple of corrections from that blog, actually. So, workspace naming, some people saw that written in the blog. That's not actually a thing yet. It was in there by mistake and will probably come around after the first release. And then the tooltips. There were multiple things listed that tooltips are functional with. It's actually currently only functional with the app tray and the dock, but they are there. Just wanted to make sure those corrections got out there.
Thanks, Alex.
Let's talk about some hardware. The Bonobo is back with a vengeance. Part of that vengeance is it's now got a max RAM of 192 gigabytes, which is a lot of RAM, and probably enough for multiple vengeances, but it's also become quite the observatory of a laptop, Emma. It's got an 18-inch display, 1610 2K or 1610 4K at 240 Hz or 200 Hz respectively, and that's powered by a brand new nVidia RTX 5080 or 5090 GPU. So you get a ton of power out of this thing, and it looks gorgeous.
Yeah, it is a beast of a laptop.
Super beast.
Another little beast ready for the public. It's the new Serval WS Laptop. That one has a 24-core Ultra 9 processor and also has a 1610 2K display at 240 Hz. But it's a 16-inch display, so a little bit smaller than the Bonobo, and also with nVidia RTX 5070. So we made a little crime scene theme marketing campaign to show off how fast this guy is, and hope you guys enjoy watching the videos that we're putting out.
Yeah, it is criminally fast.
Yeah.
And we have some testimony for our true crime doc from our investigative team. So I look forward to that. We just thought we'd have some fun with it. Now, on the desktop end, for Thelio Prime and Thelio Mira, our handcrafted desktops, they've now been upgraded with a 5060 Ti option. More systems added to the next generation.
Nice. And we also have a fun interview for everyone today.
Emma sat down with View.io, so let's see how that went.
Here we go.
How are you doing, guys?
Doing great, Emma. Thank you so much for having us here. We're excited to be here.
Awesome. Can you guys introduce yourselves?
Yeah, definitely. So my name is Joel Christner. I'm a founder at View. I'm the CEO. I'm also responsible for development of the core platform and got about 30 years in tech and just really glad to be here. So thanks for inviting us. On the line with me are two of the other founding team members. Keith is founder and CRO CPO. I'll let him introduce himself, and Matt, our Field Chief Technology Officer. So Keith and Matt, if you'd like to say a word or two about yourselves.
Hi, Emma, and thanks again for having us on board today. I'm Keith Bartow, as Joel said, co-founder and Chief Product and Revenue Officer. Really excited to be working with System76 and View AI with your customer support chatbot. Really enjoy working with your team and looking forward to having our conversation today.
And this is Matt White, the field CTO, and I've had a great experience. I also have an Astra, and it is just an amazing system, and working with your team has been just a pleasure.
Great. Well, let's jump into it. Can you tell us a little bit about what exactly View.io is?
So, the biggest challenge that we see enterprises face is everybody wants AI and they want the AI outcomes. They don't necessarily want to send internal data, things that are confidential, things that are related to company intellectual property or company finances or anything that's regulated. They don't want to send that out to ChatGPT. And it's not that, ChatGPT is bad at managing or securing data. They're fantastic. They have a great team. They're probably better at securing data than any enterprise would be because they have to deal with a litany of different enterprises' data. So every enterprise wants that ChatGPT-like experience on their own data, but they want to retain control of the data while doing that. So what we have built at View is a fully self-contained on-premises platform that allows you to get a ChatGPT-like experience behind the firewall using your corporate data, your corporate intellectual property, without having to send that data out of the company in order to do so. So that encompasses everything from the ingestion of the data, so how the data is acquired or posited into the system, how that data is pre-processed, processed, how it is laid out, how it is persisted in a variety of different repositories that are each unique in the way that they apply to AI. And then from there, the experience the operator needs to be able to have in order to create an AI agent on top of that data. So there's really two pillars to View. The first is, how do we get data into the system and processed and ready for AI usage very quickly? And the second pillar is, how do we craft and create that AI experience and then deploy that out to the user that needs to have that AI experience? So you could think of the first as get the data in and get it ready. And the second is, let's craft the experience and then go deploy it on the intranet for the customer support team, or for the on the internet for the users that need the customer support experience. Or let's craft and create the HR analyst experience, the conversational experience that they need to have to be able to ask questions of employee data, and then how that gets deployed behind the intranet, the RBAC boundary for the HR analyst. So on the intranet, the HR analyst logs in, it checks to make sure they are actually an HR analyst. They have the appropriate rights to chat with this data. Or maybe it's, we want to allow users to send SMS messages to this number to have a conversational experience with our team about this particular topic. Or it could be Slack, it could be Teams. So one part is, how do we get the data in and ready for AI usage? And the other is, how do we get the data out to the people that need to be able to use it?
Nice. And is it browser based, or do you have a native application available for Linux or Windows or Mac?
That is a fantastic question. So we have both. The initial experience is obviously web-based, where when you are in the AI assistant studio, we like to call it, where you have as an operator, you have this playground where you can pick the model that you want to use, the knowledge base that you want to use. And the knowledge base is essentially all of the documents that you've ingested, their metadata, their graph representations, their vectors. You can fine tune all of the knobs associated with those. And by the way, when I say fine tune, I don't mean model fine tuning. This is retrieval and prompt fine tuning. You can take that and then deploy that on web. And that's been there for, a number of months now. We've extended that out in a few different ways. One is application native integration. So that's the Slack integration, the Teams integration that I mentioned earlier. But what I think is really exciting, at least from my perspective, is we're building native desktop and mobile applications that can also take full advantage of that same infrastructure. And, that's the entirety of the API set that we've created and the data layout capabilities that we have and so on. And you can actually run that natively on your Linux, Mac, or Windows operating system, or iPhone or Android for that matter. So if you're on the go and you need to have a conversation with a particular knowledge base on your iPhone or your Android, you can do that with View. If you're on your laptop and you want to have a conversation with a knowledge base that is centrally stored in the View deployment in the data center running on System76 or other systems, you can do that. If you want to create a local knowledge base that never feeds back into the centralized knowledge base, you can do that with View desktop applications. So the net of it is we have web, desktop, and mobile.
Cool. And what kind of hardware requirements does the desktop one require?
Yeah, so the desktop does not require a lot. There's, really two different flavors and use cases, I would say, for the desktop app. One is where you want to have local knowledge bases and a completely disconnected experience. And you could have a very lightweight system for that. The only challenge you're going to run into is if you're actually chatting with that data, you're going to want to have a reasonably powerful CPU or a GPU that can be used there. And the other is if you want the full complement of View capabilities where you're doing not only local inference, but also, and this is very much an enterprise use case, and enterprises love this approach where the desktop hardware effectively becomes a complement to the data center deployment. And in this type of mode, you obviously have the ability from the desktop client to chat with the centralized data and create local knowledge bases and so on. But the flip side of that is the data center deployment becomes aware of that laptop and can use it sparingly as a host to do inference and embeddings generation. So everybody's heard of this concept of the AI PC, right? I think in 3 years, everybody's going to have one. And if you boil it down to what it really is, it's a GPU on your desktop. It's a GPU on your laptop baked right into the silicon. And there's really only one killer app for that today. And that's Copilot, which is, a fantastic app. Don't get me wrong. I'm not here to say anything bad about Copilot, but at the end of the day, by and large, those CPU and GPU resources are sitting idle. And by way of View, you've got this very nice data center deployment for AI data ingestion, processing, AI-powered experiences, and so on. The desktop app can connect back to that to allow you to have those conversational experiences natively inside of the desktop. But on the flip side of that, the data center infrastructure can then distribute workloads across all of those systems to help the data center infrastructure scale. So on the enterprise side, you also have the ability to scale out the data center workload with all of the laptops that are connected back to it, or desktops for that matter.
What role has Linux or open source played in your guys' creation of the product or consideration for how to publish it and everything?
It's been absolutely staggering. We are an open source first company. The vast majority of the team are open source developers. We absolutely prefer permissive licenses because we've all been there. We've all had to use open source in products that we've built in the past. So when we see things like copyleft provisions, we kind of have a very, I'm not going to get graphic, but we have a very visceral reaction to copyleft. It's just, not a good thing. So for me personally, I've been an open source developer for over a decade, and the vast majority of what I publish to the community are the the sets of tools and capabilities that I need to be effective as an open source developer. Naturally, there are some things that you just can't open source because companies want to monetize them, and that makes perfect sense. And there are aspects of Vue that we have not open sourced, but we do have plans to do so. But the core underlying layers upon which Vue is built either A, come from permissively licensed open source software, or B, are things that we have built, that we have released to the open source community in a permissively licensed way. I think that it's a double-edged sword, but for me, one of the edges is a lot sharper than the other. I mean, on one hand, you've got the concern of, well, we're building out this quote unquote intellectual property that somebody could just take and go do better than us, or package it in a way that gets better commercial adoption than we could. And yeah, that's always possible, but it takes, quite an investment for somebody to do that. On the other hand, when you release a capability to open source, you get a free audience to test and identify gaps and identify areas that are problematic or buggy that need to be shored up, and you naturally start to foster a community that can help the software mature and become more robust in a way that you might not have even been able to have predicted. There's a number of, number one, open source libraries that we are using natively within Vue, but number two, a lot of capabilities that we have built for Vue that we have also open sourced, and that's something that a number of us are very passionate about doing.
Awesome. Well, I know that we have View.io running on our Astra here for some internal training for our support team. What kind of hardware are you guys using from System76 that you can share?
Yeah, so I'm happy to go on record and claim that the entirety of our team is System76 fanboys and fangirls.
Awesome.
Yeah, there's zero doubt about that. So we've got a number of Thelio Astras. We are an Ampere partner. In fact, we got introduced to System76 by way of Ampere and the AI Platform Alliance. So we've got a number of Thelio Astras. In fact, I'm looking at one with its beautiful Ferrari red racing stripe here. I want to say it's something like 128 cores and a terabyte of memory. It's just a ridiculously powerful system. I do all of my development and testing on it, and a handful of others inside the company are doing the exact same. In fact, I think we have a number of systems connected by way of Tailscale to host customer proof of concept deployments. So these machines are ridiculously powerful. And beyond that, I'm doing all of my, my personal work and work for the company, of course, when I'm not. The workloads that I don't run on the Thelio Astra, when I'm actually doing development, I'm doing it on a Darter Pro, and it's a very powerful machine as well. I think, the hardware is impeccable. There's so much thought that goes into the design. There's nothing like it on the market. I cannot go to the public marketplace today and find a machine this powerful that will allow me to do the things that I need to do. So we are ecstatic about having a partnership and a relationship with System76.
Awesome. Is there anything else you'd like to add about View.io that our audience would like to hear about?
Yeah, absolutely. So if maybe I were able to speak directly to, somebody who is in technology and development at, a small enterprise, I think, that's probably where our sweet spot is. AI is really an interesting category for a number of reasons. In my past life, my most recent stint, I was running research at a very large technology company, Dell, actually one of the largest. And, some of the areas that I was leading research in included AI and distributed systems and as a service architectures and a number of others. And the feedback that we kept getting was AI is an amazing space, but to be able to do it right is very difficult. Number one, you have to have your data house in order. If your data house is not in order, you're effectively going to be feeding this AI machine garbage. And everybody knows the old adage, garbage in, garbage out. Same thing with, system prompts. Like, it's not just data, garbage in, garbage out, but also system prompts, garbage in, garbage out, prompts, garbage in, garbage out. There's a lot of nuance to the space. The number one indicator for success is having your data house in order. The biggest problem a lot of enterprises face is to embark on a venture to test out whether AI is going to be viable for your company or not. It's going to take some number of people that are either adequately trained and understand the space, or they have PhDs and, they're math wizards. It's going to take some number of months. It's going to take a very large dollar figure and a good amount of infrastructure. The vast majority of those experiments fail. We like to call them high school science fair projects. And in reality, in most cases, they're more like middle school science fair projects. The vast majority of them fail. And it all comes down to the data. So we built View specifically to make sure that the data was in a form and representation ready for AI consumption with very simple integration. And the beautiful thing about our platform is it takes 10 to 15 minutes to deploy. You can load your data in a matter of 2 to 3 minutes, and you can be chatting with it inside of an hour, maybe even less. The beauty of that approach is you can find out very quickly what your ROI for AI is going to be without spending 5 engineers' time over a 3 to 6 month period with $500,000 to $1 million. You can test it very quickly. And the vast majority of the customers that have tested it have shown that, yes, I can get measurable ROI out of artificial intelligence for my customer support use case, my technical support use case, my marketing analytics and spend analytics use cases. There's use cases for every vertical. So I would just encourage you to give it a try. We give away credits for people that sign up. You get $50 right off the bat. That allows you to ingest hundreds, if not thousands of PDF pages, for example. And you can see for yourself, how does your data stack up with a model that you choose? And can that be enough to give you the AI-powered experience that you need for customer support, technical support, HR analysts, marketing spend analysis, etc.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for sharing all the information about View and your relationship with System76 and open source. It was very good to have you guys on the show today.
Yeah, Emma, thank you so much. We were just ecstatic to be here. I can't reiterate enough. We are absolutely System76 fanboys and fangirls. That's never going to change. We've just been absolutely wowed by System76. So thank you.
I think if I had anything else to add, it would be, as we are using Thelio Astras and getting the performance benefit from the design that System76 put together with Ampere, the power, the cooling, the ability to integrate GPUs into the platform and really appreciate the overall architecture and design. We're really looking forward to working with System76 customers to enhance their AI journey and to get that return on investment they're looking for. So we encourage everybody to go to view.io and get started for free.
Awesome.
All right, Emma, that was a wonderful interview today. Thank you all for tuning in to the System76 transmission log, and we will be back to log with you next month.
Over and out.
3, 2, 1, 0.
This has been the System76 transmission log. For more inspiration, check out the website and follow us on social media. On your descent back to Earth, please keep your hands and feet inside the transport beam at all times. Captain sign off, in transmission.